Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I want to talk about a business that people often approach with reverence, discomfort, and deep emotion all at once: funeral service and mortuary science. On the surface, most people see a funeral home as a sacred place that helps family through that untimely death. And that is true. But underneath that visible role is a much larger system. Funeral homes and mortuary professionals do not simply host services, they manage body care, legal responsibility, family logistics, ceremonial order, and time sensitive decisions during one of the most vulnerable moments in someone's life. So, the deeper question for this presentation is this: is the funeral home only a place for mourning, or is it also a hidden end of life business system? Most people think about funeral service in very simplistic terms. They picture a casket, a viewing, a church or a chapel service, and a burial or cremation. They think the funeral home helps family make arrangements and say goodbye with dignity. That is true in the visible story. But that surface story often hides the amount of structure required behind it. There are decisions, forms, transport, scheduling, preparation, family coordination, and pricing, all happening under intense emotional pressure. So, while the public sees ceremony, the business is often managing a far more complicated transition. What is really going on is that the funeral home is turning grief into an organized process. The family is often overwhelmed. Time is very limited. Legal steps have to be followed promptly. The body must be handled respectfully and properly. Cultural and religious expectations may shape what happens next. The service provider steps into that moment and creates order. That means the visible service is memorialization, but the hidden business is coordinated end of life management. The funeral director is not just arranging flowers and services, they are managing the body, the paperwork, the schedule, and the family's transition through their loss. This model works because death is universal, but most people are not prepared to manage all of its practical consequences alone. When a death happens, the family does not just need emotional support, they need action. They need transport, preparation, permits, ceremony planning, timing, and a path forward. That creates value because funeral homes bring structure into a moment of disorder. They offer a framework for handling what will otherwise be confusing, delayed, or emotionally paralyzing. So the business worked not because grief is profitable in some simple sense, but because grief creates a real need for guidance, coordination, and legitimacy. Funeral homes exist in a space where sacred duty and commercial reality meet. The family may be thinking about love, memory, religion, and respect. The provider must also think about the vehicles, facilities, preparation rooms, the merchandise, staffing, and timing. There are real costs. There are service choices. There are different price levels. So even though this lane carries deep emotional and spiritual meaning, it is still a business system with overheads, goods, labor, and packages. That tension is what makes it such a revealing hidden business model. Your strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat highlight something people do not always think about: the technical, emotional side of funeral service. Mortuary science is not only ceremonial, it includes body care, preservation, restoration, sanitation, legal handling, and professional standards. In other words, there is a technical craft behind the public facing dignity of the funeral home. That matters because families see the final presentation, but they do not always see the trained skill required to make that presentation possible. So the profession carries both emotional labor and scientific or procedural labor at the same time. A funeral service is never only one thing. A funeral home may manage the ceremony. A mortician or embalmer may manage body preparation. A cemetery handles the land of burial. A cremation provider may offer an alternative path, and the family's religious or cultural tradition may shape everything from timing to clothing to prayer to burial practice. That means this lane is not just one business, it is a network of end of life roles, all meeting in one emotionally intense moment. What feels like one service from the outside is actually several different systems working together. The customer journey in this business usually begins with shock or grief. A death occurs, and the family must move quickly from emotion into decisions. They contact the provider. The remains are transferred. The service options are explained. The family chooses burial or cremation, ceremonial details, and timing. Then the funeral or memorial takes place, followed by the final disposition and the continuing work of remembrance. The key business insight here is that the customer journey is not leisurely, it is compressed, emotional, and time sensitive. That is why trust matters so much. The family is making some of the most important decisions of the process while they're emotionally strained. Your business model canvas brings the deeper model into focus. The strengths of this business are clear. It is necessary, trusted when done well, and deeply rooted in culture and community. But the weaknesses are just as important. Families may feel vulnerable, pricing can feel uncomfortable, and one mistake in care or communication can damage trust severely. The opportunities include pre need planning, more personalized memorials, culturally specific services, and broader family guidance. The threats include low cost alternative, public suspicion around pricing, and the difficulty of branding, balancing compassion with commercial reality. So the funeral business is durable because it is necessary, but delicate because it serves people at the exact moment they are least able to absorb confusion and insensitivity. The final takeaway is that funeral homes and mortuary science businesses do much more than arrange a ceremony. They turn grief, legal necessity, body care, ritual, and family transition into a structured service system. That is what makes this such a powerful hidden business model. The visible service is memorialization. The hidden business is coordinating one of life's hardest transitions with dignity, timing, and order. And maybe that is the deepest truth of all. The funeral home does not remove the grief, but it gives grief a structure families can move through when life has suddenly and drastically changed. Thank you.